This town is literally sinking. It's been happening for years. Towns across the Philippines are vanishing below the waves, drowning in salt water.
Kamag-anak mo dito, kailangan bangka na talaga gagamitin mo para lang.
Lush rice fields are being turned into aquatic wastelands. But why are so many locals happy about it? You see, they've turned to an unusual savior, mud crabs. But how the hell can crabs be saving these sinking communities? Why are there so many of them? And do they taste any good?
These things might not all be monsters, but there are some monsters here. Big ass mud crabs, man. Giants.
I'm starting out in Masantol in the Pampangan countryside, where millions of dollars worth of crab are being processed every week.
This has to be one of the largest producers of crabs in all of the Philippines, this area. Let's check it out.
Here in the small riverside markets is where it all begins. Markets here are dominated by crab. They are the star of the show, the main event. Even the fish that are being bought and sold at these markets offer crab food.
And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of crabs.
Instead of roads, local farmers arrive by river on long motorized canoes, gracefully navigating the narrow canals that serve as a lifeline for these communities. They connect the farms to the market.
Longboats pull up with a load full of crabs, sort of packaged up, bought by wholesale buyers that are selling them maybe in Manila or elsewhere around the country.
And one by one they are carefully inspected and sold to wholesale buyers. This is not really a retail market. There's only wholesale buyers here. Unlike the bustling energy of a typical market, this one exudes a more serious, business-like atmosphere. The sheer abundance of crabs that is being processed here, though, is mind-boggling. How can such a small and sinking village produce millions upon millions of dollars worth of crab? To find out, I'm meeting up with Gideon, a young crab farmer who has agreed to show me around his family crab farm and explain exactly how things work. But things were not always this way. Gideon's family were once rice farmers, as was everybody in this area.
When your parents grew up here, they used to be rice farmers.
Yes, before they are rice farmers, but when I was a child, I was in this kind of industry, which is fish pond.
Getting the drone up in the air just blew my mind. An intricate web of canals connecting what were once clearly rice fields, now flooded with ocean water as far as the eye can see. The waters of Manila Bay are slowly engulfing the coastal regions of Bulacan and Pampanga. Over the past 2 decades, these lands have been descending at 4 to 6 centimeters per year into the embrace of the sea, a sinking phenomenon that is believed to be fueled by the relentless extraction of groundwater and the compaction of the earth beneath. But that's just the beginning of the story. Sea levels surge here at a rate 4 times faster than the global average, adding to the threat against the coastline. And if that's not enough, the once sprawling mangrove forests here, spanning over 130,000 acres, have dwindled to near nothing, leaving this region incredibly exposed to the unpredictable forces of nature, flooding, and the annual onslaught of fierce typhoons. It makes living conditions harsh, to say the least. Things had to change.
There's no livelihood. We need to convert it into fish pond in order to earn money and survive here in our area.
That's where Gideon's farm comes into play. Navigating through the narrow waterway canals lined with houses along the banks, we finally arrive at Gideon's farm, a large rectangular pond amidst a sea of similar ponds.
You have a giant pond here. How the hell do you take care of them and how do you check on them?
We use our hands.
Really?
Yes,
So you just get out there and you find the crabs with your hands.
that's correct.
Don't they bite you?
Sometimes.
I see.
Without hesitation, Gideon plunges his bare hands into the water, revealing a jaw-dropping sight. This place is literally teeming with monster mud crabs.
Gideon is actually heading back with the crab. I cannot believe you pulled that off. It's madness.
Farming these crabs is a relatively simple but fascinating world. Multiple times per year, the ponds are heavily stocked with fingerlings, and these voracious eaters now number in the tens of thousands, and they need a whole lot of food to survive.
We feed them every day.
Just throw fish out there.
Yes, that's true.
As it turns out, the food is farmed along with the crabs in the same pond. And so I head out with Gideon to capture a bountiful catch from this pond. The water is alive with an array of coastal fish, an assortment of prawns, and a huge amount of tilapia.
Okay, so I'm not being too much help. I am sat on the opposite end of this giant canoe, trying not to tip us into the water and destroy all my camera gear.
Gideon uses two types of net that are permanently set up to catch feed for the crabs, as well as food for his dinner table. There's a standard gill net that runs along the top of the water, and a box trap, or dragon trap as they call it, that sits along the bottom. We check them both.
It's a pretty big ass shrimp. Takes them 5 months to get this big, but I mean, that looks like a serious product. I'd eat the hell out of that. Looks delicious. They are the product along with the crab. What we're after really right now is tilapia that are used to feed the crab.
The shrimp and the more tasty varieties of fish are kept for food. Crabs are monitored for health, or they're kept for sale if they're big enough. And tilapia are cut up for crab feed. But it is wild to me that tilapia can live in everything from 100% fresh water to this straight up salt water that has mullet and shrimp swimming around in it. And the tilapia can just propagate wild whilst getting netted every single day for crab food. And they thrive. Oh wow, that's a bigger crab. Oh, where'd he go? Oh, dude, that's a monster crab.
So there you go, in the dragon trap, as it is called here in the Philippines, we have pulled up one quite small crab and one to me that looks like an absolute monster. It is pretty crazy to me the size that these guys let these things get to, or that they're able to get them to. Oh dude, that was so quick.
3 times. So if you want to check the crab if it is fatty, you can press it here. If it's hard, it means it's fatty, like this one. It's hard to press. And also with the weight of the crab, you can check that in your own hands.
After checking the nets, Gideon and I prepare some of these tilapia for food. After cutting up the tilapia, we head back out to feed the crabs.
Tilapia is kind of handy because, you know, there's such a good food source for the crab.
And what's interesting here is the lack of care about whose crabs are whose, or what happens when these crabs inevitably climb from one pond into the other.
What if your crabs escape over there into the public waterway?
It's free.
Free crab?
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Lucky crab, right?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, you can only eat the male.
Man, that's super interesting. In Australia, it's illegal to keep female crabs. You have to release all females so that they keep propagating in the wild.
I have eaten my fair share of mud crabs in my time, but these Pampangan farmed crabs are monsters. If I'm honest, I'm doubtful that farmed crabs can taste as good as the wild stuff. So we're taking a boat ride back to Gideon's house, where his aunt has been kind enough to cook some up for us. The lives of the crab farmers here is now so disconnected from the wider Philippines and world that each of these families is essentially self-sufficient. They subside largely off fish and various poultry that they can farm on the narrow strips of land.
So we've come back to Giddy's house, which is one of these beautiful little houses in these sort of mud crab canals that stretch for miles and miles. And he has a pretty basic setup here. Essentially, it's just a few buckets with which they rotate the water out. And they're gonna place the larger mud crabs in there that are not yet filled with meat. And essentially just over the course of a couple of weeks, fatten them up, feed them a little bit of fish every single day. Seems like a pretty damn good idea. I do not know why we don't fatten up crabs in Australia. Genius.
An essential part of the process for these crab farmers, as only fat crabs full with meat can be sold for profit.
Oh, so you're gonna keep it?
We can, but it's small.
That's small, yeah. So we should throw it back, right?
You can throw it back. Bye-bye. All right.
Today, Gideon's aunt is preparing chili garlic crab for us.
Like this one?
Yep.
She starts by dicing up some small local chilies. Next, ginger is crushed and cut into thin slices. And meanwhile, Gideon quickly dispatches the crab.
That's a serious freaking mud crab claw. That's wild. Farmed.
It's moving. You will see.
Oh. Super steady.
The crab is then thoroughly cleaned. A wok is brought up to temp and a large amount of butter is added to the pan and melted down. The onions, ginger and chilies are all added to the sizzling butter and slowly caramelized. Various parts of the crab are then added to this mix, with special care taken to add the large parts first and ensure an even cook. Everything is stirred well, a touch of salt is added, and then everything is left to simmer. Finally, once everything is cooked through, the larger crab claws are cracked open and re-added to the wok to soak up some of that glorious buttery garlic goodness. Once done, we sit down to eat.
Gideon,
Yes,
dude, this looks amazing.
definitely.
How big was this crab? It looks like a monster.
1 kilogram.
1 kilo.
Here in the Philippines, it's 1,100, but if you go in Manila, it's 1,500.
How often do you eat mud crab like this?
Once a month?
Once a month.
Yes.
I mean, that's still fairly frequently, but you catch mud crab every day.
Twice a week.
Twice a week.
Yes.
Look, your auntie has prepared this in some incredible looking sauce. Man, this is my kind of meal. I could do this every day. Dude, I can't wait any longer. Why don't we grab a bite and we can get going? I wanted to try one of these giant ass crab claws. Let's do it. Cheers, man. Ching.
Let's do this. And just to us again.
Oh my God, wow. Dude, that is incredible. The garlic flavor, really strong. Rich, garlicky. You get a little bit of bite from that chili. Wow. You know, I'm used to sort of just the plain steamed crab, but I'm gonna start doing it like this. This garlic steamed crab, wow.
Yes. It's very yummy.
A little bit of ginger in it, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. It's not really as dry as most crabs. I think when we're steaming it, I've been cooking it for too long or something. This is really, really tender and a super unique way to cook crab. I really haven't seen mud crab prepared like this before. Oh, the body?
Yes, the body.
Wow. That is a good idea. Dude, oh my God. There is just a ton of garlic on the top of this thing. Oh, I'm going to scrape off a little bit of this garlic, ginger, chili mix because otherwise it's just going to be a little bit too powerful. And you can really see the fattening up process like this. You know, I've seen a lot of crabs you catch wild and there's really not all that much meat in them. And where the meat is in the claws, but this is just chunky. That is thick, thick, thick with meat. That is crazy. Oh my God.
This is the good part.
That's the best bit? Or like the swimmer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll grab one of these. All right, here we go. Oh my God. You can just, it's so juicy. I can't get over that bit of it. It's not dry at all. You can just suck it out and, wow. Exceptional meat. That is so good, dude. That's incredible. So you eat this once a month?
Yes, once a month only because it's unhealthy if you eat a lot.
Oh, I wouldn't care. I would eat a lot of it.
This is the fat of the crab.
All right. Wow, the fat of the crab?
Yes, you can try to use this.
What?
Get everything and then eat.
I've never even heard of people eating this. Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, one of the yummiest part.
Really? One of the more desirable parts. I have eaten a ton of mud crab in my day and I've always just thrown away the top shell without touching any of it. So do I scrape that bit off?
Yes.
I've got to admit, it doesn't look the most appetizing. Okay, here we go. The fat, you say?
Yes.
It looks like some kind of membrane to me. Wow. Dude, that is a totally different flavor, huh?
Yes.
God, it has kind of like I think I've got some of the ginger in there. It's giving it almost like a weird crunch to it. It obviously has a really different texture from the flesh. The flesh is that sort of flake apart in your mouth. This had far more of a chewy consistency and then just melted away. Wow, really incredible meal. Man, is this a big mud crab to you guys? Do they get much bigger than this?
Oh, yes. The most biggest crab that I caught is 2.5 kilos.
2.5 kilos?
Yes.
Holy crap. How many crab do you think you have in your farm?
When the time that we put the fingerlings in the pan, we usually put 5 to 10,000 pieces.
5 to 10,000 fingerlings?
Yes.
And you do that how often?
3 times in a year.
3 times a year?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So basically, once we put the 10 to 5,000, we harvest that within 4 to 5 months. And then after that, we reprocess again.
You harvest 5 to 10,000 mud crabs per month.
Yes,
Whoa, you're selling an absolute ton of this crab at the market.
that's right. After rice farming, we transform to fish pond. For the water here is not salty water. That's why we can able to plant a rice.
So it used to be fresh water.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then eventually the water became salty.
And so what's happening here? Is the sea level rising or is the town sinking?
It's the same. So basically the sea level is higher and also the land.
So the land has become level with the ocean level.
That's correct.
Is that why the town near here seems to be sinking? Like everything when I drove past was underwater basketball courts, underwater churches.
Yes.
But it wasn't always like that. When your parents grew up here, they used to be rice farmers.
Yes, before they are rice farmers, but when I was a child, I was in this kind of industry, which is fish pond.
So I guess everybody has to learn to change and adapt.
Yes, we need to change and adapt to the situation that we have.
Well, dude, I tell you what, you guys have adapted in maybe the best way possible because that is absolutely exceptional. It's a high value product, tastes amazing. The lifestyle out here is really, really beautiful and very nice. So I think you've got a good man. Thanks for showing me around your fish farm today, for letting me try some of this amazing crab. I'm never gonna look at crab the same again. And next time I catch one, I might just take it home and fatten it up a little bit.
Yes.
Good method, right? Thanks, man.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
So Manila Bay is rising, and these rice fields are turning into crab ponds, right? But here's the twist, the locals are winning. They've gone all in on these massive mud crabs. We're talking big business, millions in crabs every week. The entire economy is now all about crabs. These families, who were once all about rice, have made the perfect pivot. Families like Gideon's are far better off now than they ever were in the past.
Crabs and shrimp is very expensive, especially nowadays.
So it's almost like a better business than rice farming.
That's correct.
And the abundance of crabs here has spawned an entire industry. They're found in such abundance that they're now not just part of fancy restaurants in the region, they're everywhere. Even fast food places have popped up like Crabs and Crack. They're all over the region. What you are paying top dollar for back home is common table fare in these parts. I think it's a game changer and something that's going to have to continue, because whatever the reason may be, seawater in these regions are rising and they're continuing to devour much of the farmland in many areas of the Philippines. But if I've learned anything during my time here, it's that you just don't count these guys out. They will find a way to adapt whatever conditions they face. That is it for this one, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this story on Pampangan crab farming. It is absolutely wild to me, the sheer volume of crabs and crab farms that there are in this area, and the size and the technique with which they fatten up these crabs. Absolutely wild, and the taste is sensational. If you did enjoy, please give me a like and a subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.